bring this motherfucker down. I'ma bring this motherfucker down. I'ma bring this motherfucker down. I'ma bring this motherfucker down.
Hello, and welcome to my guide on Bayle the Dread. In this video, I will share my understanding of Bayle with you. I'll present a few key takeaways and then a more detailed look at this boss's attacks. Before doing that, I'd first like to set the stage by summarizing the fight. Bayle is a big bad dragon at the end of a big bad area, and I had an awesome experience through this part of the DLC. Bayle does not disappoint as a capstone to this area of the game. When you first see Bayle, he's big, bad, and intimidating, but just wait till you get him to around 2/3 of his health bar. At that point, he transitioned to a phase 2, which just ramps up all the awesomeness that's already going on. In phase 2, you'll see all the same attacks you saw from phase 1, though some of them are enhanced, and there are a few new phase 2 attacks. Before discussing the attacks in specific or in detail, I first want to get across what I think my key takeaways are, and none of them are specific to any one given attack from Bayle. The first key concept I would like to try to share from my understanding is, akin to other bosses in the DLC, Bayle has a relatively quick reset time in between his attacks or attack combos. So what this means is he's going to throw a big old attack combo at you over the course of 12 seconds, and afterwards you get rewarded by getting to hit him with a single attack. So after some of his combos, I found it comfortable just to hit him with an R1, but there are some attacks which you can most certainly fit in a charged attack. There are also a couple attacks where I found you could get to his missing leg or his tail and get in multiple R1s. Don't be greedy. And it feels weird to say don't be greedy, and greedy meaning more than a R1. But as long as you learn to recognize his attacks, you'll find out when the appropriate attack windows are. And the most important thing of that is try to keep up a consistent poke on him. So be contented with the occasional R1. As long as you're doing it consistently between his attacks, he will end up staggering. So I've had Bayle staggered usually twice, once in phase 1 and once in phase 2. So as long as you are consistently getting in an attack between his attacks, it's perfectly fine to just be getting an R1. That's preventing his stance bar from depleting, and it's a way to get him down that's not frustrating. What was frustrating for me was trying to attack him a lot when I didn't understand his attack patterns. So by being patient and just being contented with throwing in an attack in between his attack patterns, I had a lot of success that way, and was able to get him down while staggering him a couple times during the fight. The second key concept I'll try to put forward is about positioning. In general, I tried to stay near the middle of the room, that way I could avoid being up against the wall. Up against the wall leads you to potentially having camera issues, as well as making some of Bayle's attacks kind of weird and hard to read. The second thing I'm going to say about positioning is I ended up preferring to try to fight out in front of him. A lot of times in Souls games, when you are fighting a big enemy, and like dragons in Elden Ring, sometimes the best place to be, or a lot of times the best place to be, is under them, right? You're attacking their feet, and then they'll throw a stomp at you, and you roll it, and then you keep attacking their feet. I didn't find that to be a good thing to do with Bayle, or I didn't find success with it. And there's a couple reasons for that. The first one is that when you're under him and you attack him, he likes to throw at you what I call belly breath. So he steps back a bit and then he breathes straight down. And it's hard if you're under him to get away from that consistently. When he did do that, I found the best thing to do was for me to turn tail and run away from him, out in front of him. The reason for that is right before he does the belly breath, he actually takes a little bit of a step back and breathes down. So if you are under him and he starts breathing at you, again, I feel like running away in the direction of out in front of him was the most successful. But that's one reason I prefer not to fight under him, was because I found actually predicting and avoiding the belly breath to be a bit inconsistent for me. The second thing that I would say about why I don't really like fighting under him and ended up preferring to fight in front of him was that it was easier for me to keep track of what he was doing. A big part of success for me here was understanding what he was doing and reacting accordingly. When I was up under him, a lot of the times, I couldn't see his head or his hands due to his body, and that ended up leading me to not understand what he was doing, and that would just in turn have me misplay. So, for those reasons, I prefer standing out in front of the boss, often on a lot of his attacks rolling backwards so I could try to keep him in front of me. That allowed me to retain my understanding of what he was doing so that I could react accordingly. A third reason that I prefer fighting out in front of him is so that I can hit him on the head. Now, this third note might be a little bit of crackpot theory because I don't actually have the numbers to prove this, but I'm pretty sure larger enemies, and especially dragons, take extra damage when you hit them on the head. So, by hitting him on the head, I'm A, doing extra damage, B, working to break his stance faster so I can get a riposte in. So that is another reason I prefer fighting out in front of him, so that I can be closer to his head and try to hit him on the head more. Also, playing with his strategy effectively makes it so that I can stay camera locked the whole time. The camera issues seem to not be that big of a deal as long as I'm out in front of him. For me, it helps me read him easier, and also by staying camera locked, when he does an attack and I'm going to immediately try to get in a charged attack after, all I have to do is roll and start holding my charged attack, and camera lock takes care of making sure that I'm going to hit him on the head. So I've watched some other videos from other people on the boss that have preferred toggling off. One guy specifically did like fighting Bayle under him. I'll put a link to his video in the description. Go check it out, because his strategy differed from mine, and his strategy seemed perfectly effective. He liked fighting Bayle from underneath and getting in a poke, recognizing when the belly breath was coming, running away, and repeating. Now for me, I didn't get that strategy to work, but that's by no means to say it's not valid. So if you would like to see someone's perspective that took the fight from that angle, I'll put a link to their video in the description. But for me, I found fighting Bayle, fighting out in front of him, good for the following reasons. 1, don't have to worry about belly breath. 2, I can always see what he's doing. And 3, I can whack him on the head, which does more damage, and I effectively get to break his stance earlier. The final key concept I would like to discuss is going to be called commit to memory. This has nothing to do with this boss in particular, but I'm trying to put forward a couple ideas which may help you learn the boss faster. So, you could run in here and beat your head against the boss time after time, and you will end up learning it. However, I think there's some things you can try which may help you learn the boss's patterns faster. It's just like studying in school or something. In school, we learn stuff by writing things down on note cards, which is like tactile learning to help us commit things to memory. So, a couple things I recommend that I've been trying. One is verbally call out what the boss is doing while you're fighting him. Just swipe, swipe. Get a bite, bite. This may help you A, pay more attention to what the boss is doing, and 2, remember it and recognize those patterns faster. The next thing that I'll recommend, or an alternative way to do that I use, is by after each attempt, I write something down that I learned from the last attempt in an Excel spreadsheet. So this is kind of a way to try to make sure that each attempt I'm getting as much progress out of it as possible. Again, you don't have to do this. Like if you think this is some dork shit, whatever, man, like go in there and just run your head against the boss and you will end up killing it. Even with these couple things, you're still going to have to go in there and run your head against the boss in order to learn it. But if you're doing some extra things to commit what's going on in the fight to your memory, then it may help you learn faster. So, to quickly review the 3 core concepts that I'm trying to put forward, 1 is patience. Don't try to attack the boss more than once between his combos. He doesn't take that long to reset and start throwing another one at you. 2, positioning. Try to stay near the center of the room and, in my preference, out in front of the boss. That way, it's always easy for me to be attentive to him and understand what he's doing. Again, if you would prefer to see someone fight the boss from a different perspective who likes trying to fight him from underneath, I'll put a link in the description in the video from someone else's video I saw who actually did prefer fighting under the boss and baiting the belly breath. So that'll be in the description if you'd like to see that. The third key concept that I put forward is commit to memory. Again, to learn the boss, you're going to have to get beat up by it, but each time it beats you up, you might learn a little more if you do a couple extra things to try to commit those things you've learned to your memory. One way that I do this is by trying to verbally call out the boss's attacks as they happen, and another way I like to try to do this is by writing things down in an Excel spreadsheet after the attempt, if I can recall things that were new to me or if I need to make an update to something I already had written down. Other things I would like to mention in summary of the boss before moving into the detailed attack view, firstly is about your equipment. This boss does a lot of fire and lightning damage, so if you're looking to modify your talismans or your gear for him, look for stuff with high fire and lightning resistance. He also does a lot of physical damage, so as much physical resistance you can get while also having good fire and lightning is good. The other thing I'd like to mention with regards to character build is, in terms of weapon choice, I'd recommend either the Dragon Hunter's Great Katana, which the game so awesomely gave us right before coming up this mountain, or using a Dragon Wound Grease on your weapon. The reason for that is that the Dragon Hunter's Great Katana is made of gravel stones, and so is Dragon Wound Grease. And also, if you look around, you might find some, I think it's called Dragon Communion Grease. So these weapon greases that are made with gravel stones, if you look on the wiki, the earlier one that we get in the base game does between 20 and 30% extra damage to dragons, depending on the dragon. There's not numbers on the wiki yet for the Dragon Communion Grease, but you can infer it's even a more effective Dragon Wound Grease. Now think about this sword. This sword on the wiki doesn't yet have numbers out regarding how much more damage it does to dragons, but you could infer that it probably has a similar effect to Dragon Wound Grease. So this weapon, in my eyes, is going to do somewhere between 20 and 30% more damage to this boss than just regular enemies. So take the AR on it and scale it up 20 or 30%. If you can't use this weapon or you would like to use a different one, I would also maybe recommend using Dragon Wound Grease, so that way you've got a 20 or 30% more effective damage output on this boss. Oh, and real quick, I will do a couple things. I'm going to capture, so here's my status screen. So I have 6 blessings, 5, well, I have 6 Erdtree blessings, 5 revered spear dash. Equipment, I'm using the Dragon Hunter's Great Katana plus 10, Banished Knight Helm, and rest of the armor. I've thrown a Pearl Drake to help with both the fire and the lightning. Erdtree's Favor and Radagon Sword Seal both contribute to equip load as well as increasing all overall attributes. And then for physical resist, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. My physic was just extra healing is all it was. I think the last thing I have to say in summary is going to be about Igon. So if you're interested in Igon's questline or anything related to the Dragon Communion Priestess over here at the Grand Altar of Dragon Communion, I would recommend trying to tie up those loose ends before killing this boss. There's not a loose ends with them to tie up, but if you're interested in their thing and whatever they have going on, go look it up on the wiki. I don't want to give you bad information. In my experience and understanding of them and their interactions might not be complete. So I would recommend, if you're interested in Igon or the Dragon Communion Priestess, to maybe give them a look on the wiki before killing Bayle. You can summon Igon in this fight if you want him to help, or if you just want to listen to him yell hilarious stuff throughout the fight. He'll just stand by the door and shoot a great bow at Bayle. Seems like he does a good bit of... If he hits him in the head, he does about 900 damage is all I know. But you can summon Igon, and also if you're interested in Igon's questline or your interactions with the Dragon Communion Priestess, I would recommend trying to finish those out before killing Bayle. Alright, now that I've wrapped up the high-level summary, I get to dive into the attacks a little more in detail. So I'm going to start out with Phase 1. Now in Phase 1, this boss will bite at you, he'll stab at you, he'll grab at you, he'll jump at you, he'll charge at you, he'll do a bunch of stuff at you. So it's important to learn to somehow recognize what he's doing. In order to help with that, I'm now going to show and describe pretty much all of his attacks and also talk about how I learned to deal with them. The first attacks I'll cover are attacks which he may use from a distance, so you may see these as gap closers. You're more likely to see these when you first walk in the room than other attacks. I'll first cover two of his breath attacks. The first one being what I'm going to call direct breath. Like, I know when I'm in front of him, I know what he's doing. It's just that he like leaps at you so much when he's attacking you. It's like hard to even stay in front of him even when you want to. The indication the boss is about to do a direct breath is that he inhales fire and brings his head out to his left a little bit before breathing at you. This breath will come straight at you, and if you're far away, is likely to hit you even if you immediately start running and sprinting. The boss may use this while you are far away or while you're close. If you're close enough, go in for an attack after the breath. I'm gonna belly breath me. Maybe a little slow. I gotta not try to charge L2 when I got no head. My closing advice for this attack is to watch the boss's head as he begins to inhale. If he goes slightly out to the left with his head, he's about to pull this attack off at you. Immediately start running to the left. If you're close enough, go for an attack. The other Phase 1 breath attack I'll call wall breath. Wait. Of course you do the back head. In order to distinguish this attack from the other breath attack, on this attack, the boss will take his head out to his right, whereas on the direct breath attack, he would send it out to his left before breathing it. When you see this attack coming, the best way I found to dodge it was to focus on the flame approaching me across the ground. That enabled me to time my roll the best. If you're close enough after, go ahead and hit the boss. Here is a comparison with wall breath on the left and direct breath on the right. I'll show it again in a second, even slower. Watch on the right side, the boss's head will go up and then go a little bit to his left. That is the indication to me that I am about to receive a line breath instead of a wall breath. If it is line breath, you immediately need to start running or rolling out to the left side. The left side seems better for dodging this than the right. The next Phase 1 attack I'll talk about, which he may use from a little bit of a distance, I'm going to call grab. I pricked the wrong flask. I don't like this positioning. Patience. The good news about grab Well, actually, there's there's a couple of really good things about grab. The first one is it's easy to notice. His mouth starts sparkling orange, and after a little bit of delay, he's going to leap at you. Now, the second exciting thing about grab is that we get to punish it. Every time when he's going to grab at you, roll in such a way where you can poke him in the head with an R1 right after. Now, he's either going to stop right there and then start a different type of attack combo, or something you might commonly see is that he's going to swing his left hand at you following the grab. If he swings the left hand at you, go ahead and roll it and then pay close attention to it. He's either not going to follow that up with anything and you can get an R1 on him, or he's going to do a backhand at you with that left hand he just swung at you with. If he's doing this backhand, roll it and then immediately start charging up a charged attack to whack him in the face with. So here's the whole thing again one time in slow motion. I recognize he's going to try this grab attack at me because of this stance and crackling orange lightning at the mouth. I roll it in a position where I can R1 him in the head, and then I immediately look for the left hand. I roll the first one, notice he's doing a backhand, so I roll it and immediately charged a charged attack to hit him with. The next gap closer I'll discuss, I'm going to call Leap. Now that's just a run through. Get him.
I hereby you will rue this day.
Get behind him. Okay, I got behind him on the leap this time. It may be difficult to learn when he's going to come down from being in the air. I had the most success by paying attention to his right foot. Before he would descend, it would seem that he would open up his right foot and aim it at you. I would use that to know that he's coming down to help me try to time my roll. By the end of my progression, I had figured out that if I run forward when he goes up in the air and roll at the appropriate time, I'll end up behind him where I can hit him on the tail. However, I also noticed that you could roll backwards and hit him on the head afterwards. Be wary that in phase 2, he might leap from far away or from close to you, and when he lands, there will be some lava on the ground that you need to make sure you're not standing in. The next gap closer I'll discuss is going to be called Lunging Stab. Take that R1, you punk. The boss is most likely to use this attack from, I would say, like a medium distance. He'll raise that right arm in the air and do kind of a leap at you and then go stab his arm in the ground. In phase 2, there will be kind of a lava effect on the ground after. You need to make sure to dodge. You can jump over that, and this is a really good attack window as his arm's stuck in the ground for a split second afterwards. So when you see this, get ready to try to position yourself in such a way where you can capitalize with an attack. Again, I'll emphasize an attack. I wouldn't recommend more than one, not just on this attack, but nearly any others on this boss. The next move I'll talk about in the gap closers, and I believe the final one, I'm going to call Charge. Alright, don't be greedy, just be patient. What is he doing? I'm right here. Start, man. What the f am I supposed to do about that? Okay, so forgive me for that last clip, but I actually don't have a lot of great clips of this. But there's the charge, and a lot of times it's followed by this particular tail whip. Notice before he charges, he rears back onto his legs and tail, or leg and tail, charges, and then often follows up with his tail whip. You'll see the tip of the tail go up, and when it goes down, that means he's about to go ahead and swing it. I've also seen this a couple times, where weirdly after the charge, he will do what I call dash, which then after the dash, you have to watch out for the quicker tail swipe. I didn't see this a lot, so I admittedly don't have clips of myself later in progression at a point where I knew how to deal with it well. What I'd advise is making sure to roll the first charge, then roll his ensuing tail swipe, and try to position yourself near his head afterwards so that you can get an attack in. Before moving on to the more close range attacks, I'll discuss the tail swipe you've seen after charge, which I am going to call Big Tail Swipe. I'm trying to make a point about this one and the other tail swipe, as there's two different tail swipes. This one, notice you see the tip of the tail go up in the air, and then it'll come down as he begins to unfurl his attack. That is a good way to notice the timing of when to be prepared to dodge this. Additionally, if you're close enough, try to roll in such a manner that you'll end up where his head is so that you can get an attack on him after. The other tail attack I notice pretty much always follows what I call dash. Dash is another move that he uses to cover a lot of distance, but I normally see him use it to disengage with you and gain space rather than to close distance to you. So typically he'll dash away from you, and then he immediately is going to throw a quick tail back at you, but he also will cover a lot of distance. He almost like wave dashes back at you while doing this tail back, what I call rebound. So I actually call this full attack dash rebound, and I'm going to make sure to make a little separate clip for the tail attack right after this. But usually the dash away, I don't feel like you have to dodge, but you do need to be prepared for him to very quickly throw a tail attack at you right after. If you're close enough, again, I think it's a thing where you try to roll through the tail attack and be in such a position where you can hit him on the head after. Now that I have discussed the attacks which he may use from a little bit of a distance or to close a gap, I'm now going to discuss attacks that he'll use when you are more in close range. The first one of these I'm going to talk about, I'm going to call Happy Feet. I'm discussing it first, as it is pertinent to understand if you were going to choose to fight the boss near his head. That one gets me like that a good bit. I hate that. Oh shit, I'm so dead. Greed. Oh yeah, you would do that. That makes sense. Smart guy. Well played. Even as I record this right now, I'm not exactly certain what to tell you about avoiding this when you're up close to him. So I'm actually going to try to watch this in slow motion in real time right now and see if I can understand what the cue is. Now I believe on these clips where I'm getting punished for this, I noticed that A, I've gone for more than one attack, and 2, right before he does it, his right foot moves forward. I think this goes back to key or core concept number 1, patience. So after I've gotten this one attack in, I need to be ready to dodge something immediately. In this case, before he leaned forward and roared, I could see his right foot come forward. So if I combine core concept 1, patience, right, get this one attack off and then immediately go back to playing defensively, maybe I notice his right foot come forward and I know to roll this roar before it comes out. That's easy to say when watching at 20% speed though. Here's it in real time. So I believe that it looks like you may be able to read that by watching his right foot come forward. My closing comment on this is that I would continue to play up close and in the future try to make sure that I read it based off the right foot while also not, I guess, punishing ever more than one attack at a time. That's my takeaway, and additionally, if you do get hit by this, it doesn't do a lot of damage, so I think that's livable. Also, for the general purpose of this attack, after he roars, he's going to put lightning on the ground, and you just need to run or roll or sprint. The next attack I'm going to discuss, I'm going to call Right Stab. That right there, dude, I'm rolling that second roll so late. I mean, maybe there's a better way to play it where I don't even have to roll, but... Poke. Early on the backhand. Alright. I gotta figure out what to do about when he does that, because I'm with it. Come on, this target's so close to me. I'm still doing exactly what I said I was gonna stop doing. Too early on the backhand. Alright, I gotta be patient. I rolled too early there. I did not get punished for my positioning. He could have head backhanded me. I got punched anyway. Darn, man. I'm trying to be patient, but homie is like, I'm getting nothing, dude. So frankly, this one might be a little hairy to explain, and I'll do my best to get the details right. So notice he's starting this attack with a stab of his right arm into the ground. Sometimes he then follows up with a bite, which then may be followed up with a backwards headbutt. This is often then followed up with an empowered right hand. In this case, after the empowered right hand, he has gone and dashed away and gone for a line breath. This entire sequence I would call a variation of the right hand stab attack. Now in this sequence, it's in phase 2, but he starts with the same opener. It's a right hand stab, followed by a bite. Instead, there is also the backwards headbutt, and now he's doing a line breath. Now remember, at the last sequence, after he did the backwards headbutt, he went for an empowered right. In this sequence, he went for a line breath. So based on these two clips, we can infer that a combo starts right hand, then a bite, and then a backwards headbutt. At this point, it has a couple different variations. If it's a line breath, try to roll it and get an attack in. If it's an empowered right, do a roll, get a R1 in, but then prepare for a potential leap back and other attack. Sometimes line breath, sometimes perhaps something else. So we've now seen that the right hand stab will be followed by a bite, then a backwards headbutt, and then a variety of other things. Now I will present to you a different combo which starts with the same move. Okay, so on this, we see again the boss is initiating this combo with that same right hand stab attack. And again, the boss is going to follow this up with a bite. However, because I am under him, the boss is now going into a belly breath. I'm not sure if that's because of specifically after the bite, the boss is a potential stop, but that seems to be the cause. Because in another case, you can also see the boss stop after the first bite. What this signifies to me is that in this combo, this boss will do the right stab and then this bite every time. After the bite, I believe that he is reactive. In this case, I'm not near him for him to continue into another part of his combo, so he's begun a different attack. However, when I'm in position for him to hit me with a backwards headbutt, he does so. Also, when I'm in position to get hit by a belly breath of him, he also does that. So, my preference on this right stab attack is just to roll backwards and avoid it, as the follow-ups seem to be rather punishing. Just be wary that after the bite, if you're positioned near his head, he's likely to immediately do a backwards headbutt on you. Otherwise, if you are under him, he's likely to immediately belly breath you. So, on this right stab and then bite, just be wary that his next movement is likely related to where you are. You can plan to react accordingly based on that. The next right hand attack I'll discuss is going to be called Empowered Right. Yes! So, in general, my advice for treating Empowered Right is similar to how you would treat Grab. Funny enough, he actually seems to like to use Empowered Right after Grab, though they seem to be similar combos. So, when you see Empowered Right go up, roll it, and be in a position afterwards where you can hit him with an R1 in the head. Then be prepared for a potential left hand. Then treat the left hand combo similarly to the Grab move. If he throws one left hand afterwards and doesn't look like he intends to backswing, give him an R1 poke. Otherwise, if he does the left hand and is going to do the backswing, go ahead and give him a charged attack right after rolling the backswing. Be wary that he may leap away and then go for either a line breath or like a rebound tail swipe back at you after this move. Another important note is that in phase 2, he will do this attack twice in a row. I prefer to roll each one to the right and follow with an R1. The next attack I'll talk about from close range is going to be called Bite. Just kidding. I got punched anyway. Yeah, there you go. I'm over here. Of course you do the back head. From what it looks like to me, if he bites you from his right to his left, he may often follow up with a bite from his left to his right. However, if he bit at you from left to right first, he may then follow up with a backwards headbutt. Additionally, if you are close to him after his bites, he may similarly follow this up with belly breath, as some of the other examples we've seen. If you notice some rear back on his leg, a bite may be closely following. Because bite may be quickly followed up with a subsequent bite, and then sometimes even that is chained into something else, I typically try to avoid him around bites and not choose to punish him for them. The next close range attack I'll discuss, I'm just going to call left. We commonly see left following a grab or an empowered right. However, I have seen it come out on its own. We're very excited to see left because it's punishable. As the left comes through, roll it and prepare for a left backhand. After the left backhand, immediately go ahead and charge up a charged attack. After these attacks where the left hand is common, you're going to want to pay close attention to it. Sometimes he chooses not to throw it, and sometimes he'll throw it without the backhand. Here's an instance where the backhand was not there, and I get a R1 in that case. You don't have time to do the charged L2 because something else is going to soon follow up if he does not do the backhand. Now that I've discussed his close range attacks, there are some attacks which I notice happen almost strictly when you are under him. The first of these I'll discuss is called Belly Breath. I've already discussed belly breath some in this video, so I don't want to belabor on it too much. Just know that when you are under him, either by location or just by attacking him from under him, he may put his head down and breathe fire on the ground. I found the best way to get out of this is actually to run in a direct line away from him out in the direction which what I would consider to be in front of him. The reason for this is if you watch him go for the belly breath here, which you can kind of tell he's doing by him intaking some air or some flame, he does a step back right before he breathes down, which gives you more room out in front of him than anywhere else to get away. Another benefit of running away in front of him in this case is that he'll move his head back forward a little bit after, so there is a window for you to roll back in or to run back in and get an attack on him after this, though I don't have any footage of myself successfully doing that. Another move you may see him use when you're under him, I'm going to call leapaway. Too early. We need to stab, bite. I'm rolling the bite too early. When you see the boss leap backwards away from you, such as this, prepare immediately for a breath or even a leaping attack. If you're closer, he may also try to use grab. I find this move similar to dash I discussed earlier. Here's an example I found of dash, or a move that's somewhere in between dash and leap away that was followed by a line breath. In any case, if the boss is close to you and then leaps away, make sure to keep an eye on him, as he's likely to immediately prepare another attack. And another attack I've seen him use in order to change his positioning relative to me, I'm going to call tail spin around. Look at me being greedy. Admittedly, I think this was actually just a big tail swipe he used to spin around and look at me. Whatever the case may be, if he's going to use a tail swipe to turn around and look at you, go ahead, plan to dodge the tail, and then immediately charge an attack to hit him with, as his head normally ends up beside you after he spins around. The last attack, which you can see in phase 1 I haven't touched on yet, I'm going to call Scream Combo. That's ideal. This is terrible. New plan. On this combo, I go for this right leg. Which you did. Like here, I just said I wasn't going to do this. Being greedy. Let my stamina up a little bit. So, in short, when you see him scream, I like to try to make a beeline for his left leg. On the way there, you're going to need to dodge his attacks. He does a swipe with his right arm, then he does a backhand swipe with that same right arm, and at the same time, the left hand actually comes forward and through and can hit you. So if you're able to get kind of up under him, you'll avoid that. Otherwise, you do need to be cautious about that left hand coming through, as it can hit you. After this, he does a big stab empowered right into the ground. At this point, I'm usually at his leg hitting him. The leg is weaker than the rest of his body except for his head, so you do extra damage there. Additionally, in phase 2, he'll do the big empowered right stab 2 times, and after each, there are ground effects you need to avoid. If you're able to get to the outside of his bad leg, I recommend punishing it a lot. You can get in multiple R1s there. However, in phase 2, I tended to play a little safer, and on the empowered rights, my preferred way to go would be to roll to the right after he's done them, poke him in the head. The second one comes through, repeat that, roll to the right, poke him in the head. Now that I have discussed all of the phase 1 attacks, I'm going to transition to speaking about the phase 2 attacks. Note that in phase 2, you are going to see all the same attacks you've seen in phase 1. However, most of them are augmented in some way. Additionally, you will see a few new attacks in phase 2. The first phase 2 attack I'm going to talk about, I'm going to call Transition. You will see this boss use this attack when he transitions from phase 1 into phase 2. Also note that you may see this attack later on in the middle of phase 2. No way. When this attack begins, the boss will fly up into the air and begin to circle the area. I very highly recommend maintaining camera lock during this. Fireballs will fly at you from the locations that he has previously flown by, and you need to be running generally about in any direction to avoid them. He'll then slam on the ground, and you need to roll through him. After this, if you're close enough, you can get in and attack. The trickiest part of this is likely dodging him on the ground. My timing would revolve around noticing when he hit the ground and then shortly after rolling, as him hitting you would usually come shortly after him touching the ground. Another tricky part of the phase transition to me was whether or not to go for a hit before the transition. When transitioning from phase 1 to phase 2, there will be ground effects around him you have to avoid. Afterwards though, you can run in and get a hit. I found that this may often leave me unprepared with low stamina or bad positioning for when he was about to take off. Therefore, I would choose to not go for this attack and play more safe. That goes with key concept number 1, patience. The next phase 2 attack I'll discuss, I'm going to call Stab Earthquake. Let me heal? Oh, thank you. I'm greedy. So, when you see the boss get a freaking really awesome orange lightning affected wings and his weapon's way up there and he's gonna slam it in the ground, you can roll it, or if you're far enough away for you won't get directly hit by it, you can jump. The second effect, where it's coming off the ground, you certainly want to jump over and take a jumping R2 while you're there. You can follow this up and be a little greedy with a subsequent attack after. The third phase 2 attack I'd like to discuss, I'm going to call AoE. Get away from his belly, he might breathe on me. Shit, I'm dead. Oh, really that fast? Alright. I'm gonna get punished for this. So you can tell that he's gonna do AoE by his Godzilla cosplay, albeit he has orange lightning coming out of him when he does it. When you notice it, you want to get away from him. I would think the most preferable direction to get away from him is out front, as afterwards you likely have an opportunity to run in immediately after the effect and get a hit on his head. And the final attack, and the last phase 2 attack I'm going to discuss, is called Flying Breaths. Darn. Alright. I'm gonna get punished for this. Not too bad. Oh, come on, dude. I'm... Yeah, we'll figure out how to roll. Or dodge it. What do you want me to fucking do? Not too bad. Oh, come on, dude. I don't know how to dodge. Oh, what? No. Oh, darn. Can't just jump that. Good enough. What am I supposed to do there? Please, if you have a way to consistently dodge the second breath of this, ping me in the comments with a link to a clip of it, and I want to pin it in the comments on this video, because I could not successfully dodge the second breath. I could always dodge, or not always, but I could dodge the initial wave of it, but then subsequently I would still get hit by like the fire on the ground. So I apologize to everyone watching this video. I don't really have much info to help you. Additionally, I watched a handful of other clips from other people doing the fight, and everyone else also said that they had problems dodging this consistently. So if you have a method which is 100% consistent to dodge that second line of fire, then please tag me and give me a link to it in the comments, and I will pin it. The first one that comes through that seems legit and shakes out, I'm going to pin it. So fingers crossed we find something for that. And I apologize I can't offer more help to you on it. Actually, after watching that last clip in slow motion one time, I think what happened is my second roll, I guess, was a little too early. So I dodged the first fire bit, and then there's fire on the ground, and it seems to explode at some point. So it looks to me that if you double roll back to back, I got hit. But if I were to have delayed my roll a second, maybe I would have iframed the explosion. That's still just a theory, and I have no way to confirm that. For the first part of the breath, though, I simply found just stand in place, untoggle your camera lock, look at the wall of fire approaching you, roll at the appropriate time. Additionally, something interesting to note is that when he breathes the second attack at you, he's not actually flying over you. It's like an image of himself flying over you. When he lands, he'll be at the same spot that wall of fire, the second wall of fire, came at you from. Okay, so that wraps it up. To my knowledge, I think that's everything this boss does, to the best of my knowledge at this point in time, broken down. I'm going to touch back real quick on the quote-unquote key points. Also in the background, I'm going to go ahead and start playing my kill video of the boss, and that's what it's going to outro with. So again, 1, be patient. Just fit in one attack between this boss's combos. Again, there are a few times you can do more, such as any case where you can get to his left leg or his tail, seems like you can fit in more than one. However, I prefer to stay in front and hit him on the head, so I'm usually just doing one attack. So that's key point number 1, be patient. Key point number 2, positioning. Try to stay near the center of the room so you don't have camera issues with the wall. Additionally, decide on your positioning. I like fighting him out front because it keeps him in front of me where it's easier for me to read what he's doing. Again, there's going to be a link in the description to someone else's video who preferred fighting under him, and that seemed effective as well. So pick one or the other and really commit to understanding how the boss reacts to your positioning. 3, commit to memory. While you're fighting him, you're gonna get killed, and that's how you're gonna learn the boss. You're gonna have to go fight him, and you're gonna have to see what he does. And when you see what he does, and you don't yet know what he's doing in real time, he's gonna hit you, and you're probably gonna have to run back from the side of grace a few times. I think you might learn a little faster if you do something like verbally call out his attacks as he does them, or after each attempt, write something down on a post-it note, on a note card, on an Excel spreadsheet of something you learned from the last attempt. That may help you progress quicker. So that's a summary again of the 3 key points, which I think are important for taking down the boss. Earlier in the video, it should have timestamped what my character build and all that kind of was when I killed him. So that's there for reference. But in general, hey, man, I hope this has helped. This turned into a little bit of a project for me, and I think I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. So if this has helped you, it would really put a smile on my face if you'd let me know in the comments. And hey, best of luck to you. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Yes! Hell yeah. I wonder if this will kill him. Green. Oh yeah, you would do that. That makes sense. Smart guy. Well played. Oh. Oh no. Where's Go get him.
I hereby vow you will rue this day. Behold, a true great warrior.
Get him. Yeah, get him. Yeah.
Bayle the Dread.
We got him. High five.
Haunt me no longer.
Relatable. Oh, and real quick, I will do a couple things. I'm gonna capture. So here's my status screen. So I have 6 blessings, 5. Well, excuse me. I have 6 Erdtree blessings, 5 revered spear dash. Equipment. I'm using the Dragon Hunter's Great Katana plus 10. Banished Knight Helm and rest of the armor. I threw in a Pearl Drake to help with both the fire and the lightning. Erdtree's Favor and Radagon Source Seal both contribute to equip load as well as increasing all overall attributes. And then for physical resist, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. My physic was just extra healing is all it was.